I never thought that I'd want to have a kid. You know what I mean? Like man, just like it's weird to be who I am now that I have him because I was just like the most selfish, self-centered, you know what I mean? Like crazy kid in the world. Like it was insane.
Where'd you get that from? From your parents?
I don't know. It's like I mostly from doing drugs. You know what I mean? Everything was so transactional that like it was like either someone was ripping you off or like you're ripping someone off. So I feel like I acquired it over time of like I have to have it to survive, you know?
Where'd
Like
you grow up, Brandon?
so my family's like from Burbank. My aunt still lives in Burbank. When we were about 13, my dad moved to San Diego. My mom and dad got divorced when I was super young, and my mom was like super abusive. Like I don't know, like kind of like create like
To you?
yeah, like yeah, very physically abusive.
Your mom, not your dad.
My mom, yeah, and I don't know, and that I just never felt safe. You know what I mean with her because I had no clue what she was gonna do. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't know when she'd be mad or happy or, you know, and
What was her deal? Mental issues or drugs or what?
man, it's crazy because she's never done, you know, drugs or anything. And she's not like in a mental health facility or anything right now. I don't know. I mean, my dad, it was like a lot of the time there's like a very, like what you'd consider a crazy still relationship between her and my dad. Like she still is like mad about it, and I think a lot of it got taken out on me. So it was just, I mean, it was really hard to grow up. Like I didn't know when she was gonna do something crazy or physically violent. Or I remember this one time she would say that I couldn't eat. You know what I mean? It's like like you were bad, you can't have food, and it'd been like over a day, and I hadn't had food. So like she went to sleep. And I got up and I, you know, crawled into the kitchen super quietly. I slid my finger across the seal of the thing to just get something to eat. And I popped it open and boom, she was right there. And she just like slammed it to the, you know what I mean? Like slammed that door into me till I just like melted to the ground. And it was just scary as fuck. You know what I mean? It was like there was no telling. And I remember too, just like being bruised on my body, and like telling people, you know, and like I was at the YMCA and I was hanging from the bars, and they could see the bruise, and they're like, "What happened?" And I'm like afraid because what if they don't save me? You know what I mean? Like, what if I tell them, but I have to stay with her?
Yeah. So
And
you don't say anything.
I tried not to.
You make up a lie.
They brought it up to my family, and so this one time the cops came. And but they left me. You know what I mean?
The cops left you.
They left me. They didn't help me. They didn't take me. They literally just let me there to just, and that was like the day I felt so unsafe. Cause
How old were you?
so my brother was born there around like 9 or 10. And I seriously prayed every day that my dad would like get us, and he finally did, and he moved us to San Diego. And I mean, it was a different it was like a light in my life. There was no more of that. I still had to go on the weekends, and I think it was like a Wednesday, and every other weekend we'd have to see our mom, drive from San Diego to Glendale. But I mean, in my head too, I was like, it's only the weekend. You can make it through this. You can make it through it. You know what I mean? You've already made it through so much. Pretty soon you'll be 18. You won't have to do that anymore. And luckily she got my stepdad. And it all stopped. You know what I mean? For the most part.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Her behavior improved?
She never did anything like that. You know what I mean? No vicious physical altercations. You know, still a little yelling. my godmother was just at a party with us for Halloween, and she was talking about, like, do you remember how your mom wouldn't let you guys have cheese, or like there was so many rules to how we lived with her. It was insane. But luckily the violence subsided once my stepdad Tim came, and it was just like, you know what I mean? But the weirdest, ever since then, like when we moved to San Diego, my dad worked. He always was at work. I really never had a lot of supervision at all. I was like in the punk hardcore scene, so I didn't really like, a lot of the kids were straight edge. So at first, nobody was drinking or using. Like, we were having fun, going to punk shows. There was a couple of times that I drank. The funny thing is, the first time I drank, the cops brought me home. And my dad is sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm 39, so he must have like 30-something years. You know what I mean? And it was a big deal. But he didn't go super hard on me. I got into like art and music and clothing stuff. I was in high school, and there's a band. Right now, there's a band called As I Lay Dying, who me and the singer now have like a partnership. We do a company together, but they were big, and my friend's band was big. They were called American Tragedy, and I just wanted to be the singer of the band so bad. And I'd like follow them, do merch, all that stuff, with them every night, practices, always hanging around. And I remember they never had me in the band, but I got the guitar player to start a band with me. And him and the drummer lived at a house, and their cousin, who they called Pile, for Pile of Shit, he came over and brought heroin, and I tried heroin like a hit for the first time. And it was just that feeling took away every feeling of like not feeling safe or secure. And I don't know, I kind of chased that, you know what I mean? It was like soon after, we're smoking heroin every day. We started some bands, and we would tour, and we could make it like 3 days, but it's like I'd have to come back, you know what I mean? I remember me and my friend Jacob, we brought the heroin dealer with us to do merch, and everyone in the band was using. So every person thought like, you got me, right? Like the whole time, and all of us were using. So he was like out, like day 2. We were in Arizona at the Modified Arts Center, and he didn't have any more. And I was like, I gotta go home. And I was a singer of the band, you know what I mean? But we were all fucked up, and it got worse and worse. And I kept using, and I would work. I worked at a Cold Stone Creamery. I worked at Lucadia Pizzeria. I was a diehard junkie, slamming heroin and coke, but I was like somewhat keeping it together. We moved to Cardiff. I don't know if you've ever been to Cardiff, but it's like a 4-block area. Everyone had a beach view. Mm-hmm. This was beautiful.
Beautiful stuff.
I was in my own place. I was doing good, but I was using, and I got to the point too where I was like, I'm spending my whole life waiting in parking lots for these drug dealers to come. It really bugged me. I hated it, but I loved drugs, like heroin. The girl I was dating at the time, I told her, if you ever try, she asked me if I would date her. And I said, I will, and we could date, and it could be me and you. But if you ever get me to try and get me to stop using heroin, or you want to be more important to it, all bets off. You'll never be more important to me than heroin. And my friend Noah at the time moved to Koreatown, and a couple of my other friends moved to in Koreatown, downtown LA. And my friend Noah, I wanted to move back to LA because I was from the Valley, but I went to San Diego. And I always wanted to be the first of our group to move back. And I wanted to bring our whole group here, which we all, like our whole group is here now. But Noah was my best friend and he moved. His mom helped him and he moved to Koreatown. And he calls me on the phone and he goes, "You got to check this out. This place is amazing." And I was like, "Koreatown?" He's like, "No. There's this place called San Julian. You can get heroin like that." I was like, "No way." "Yeah, you just walk right up." And I was like, "I'm going to come over for a weekend." So I go over there for the weekend. He shows it to me. We go down the street. He actually was too scared. He would peek down the street. He'd like look down it. And I was like, fuck it. Like if these guys are going down and getting it, I'm just going to walk down the street.
San Julian is one of the streets on Skid Row.
Yeah. And it's like the one like right on the side of the Midnight Mission.
There's a park there.
Yeah.
San Julian Park.
Right. We used to go in that street though. And I walked down the street and then I think they used to say like H, H, H or like Brown, whatever they said for what they had. And I was like, "Heroin?" And the guy was like, "Yeah." And he's like, with balloons. And to me, I was like, no way. Like, I'm getting it now. Gave him the money, spits it out of his mouth, gives me the thing. They told me I had to put it in my mouth. In retrospect, unbelievable. I was a little scared. Like, they were really scared. But I immediately put it in my mouth, out of his mouth, walked down the thing. And I was like, I got it. Let's go back to your house. And to me, the simplicity of it was you walk down the street and like a gumball machine, it's in your hand. Anyone else that was from San Diego, we'd wait in parking lots for 3 hours for one of these white kids who's like, "I'll be there in 10 minutes. And we were like wasting our lives in these parking lots. And I had a really good job. I had a clothing company called Honeymoon Clothing in San Diego. I had a record label. It was called Phantoms Records. We released some of the most awesome albums for the local artists that were there. I was playing music. And I completely decided that weekend that I wasn't going to go back and that I was going to be here on Skid Row with Noah, like, as long as he'd have me, or as long as we could stay there. And so I moved and I had all the money that I saved up. And at the time I was like bartending at Lucada Pizzeria, working at Cold Stone, had this little clothing company. I mean, I got up and left. I had records, I had art, I had Mark Almera prints, I had Shepard Fairey prints. Like, I was like deep into the art and music scene. I had this insane record collection. I had Jordans. And I got up and I just left. And I was like enthralled with Skid Row. And it was around that time too. I was like 21. Yeah, I was 21 because they just let me start bartending. I started as a busser. No. I started out at Lucada Pizzeria folding boxes because that's kind of at the time where I was with like using. And I think a lot of the guys thought I was like a San Diego stoner guy. But quickly I saw that the bussers left with cash tips. And I always needed drugs, so I stepped my game up and boom, bussing, server, bartender. Like, I quickly was able to find how to make the money and where they made it. But Noah gets kicked out. I go stay with my aunt. All my cousins and our friends, they were doing meth at the time, and none of them had tried heroin. And to me, heroin and cocaine together in a syringe was the best thing in the world, and I thought everyone should know. So, like, I always, to this day, I just thought it was so great, and I always thought that, like, whatever it was that made me feel unsafe, like, this made me feel safe. And I thought that I should share it with everyone. And quickly, like, I got all the people around me strung out. And since I was playing music a little bit, I went to, Music Care sent me to rehab, and I went to Cry Help for the first time. And I don't know. I did like 30 days there, and I thought for sure when I left there, I was like, I 100% for sure like have this. I like got it beat. I beat an addiction, and I left, and it was like a day or two, and I was already like back using. I don't know. I was like in and out of jail. I mean, I would do anything for it, you know. When I left Cry Help though, the first time I ended up at this house, and it was a sober living, and I was like, I got a job on Melrose working for this guy named Cosmo, and we were doing like stylist work, selling clothing, and I don't know, I really excelled at it, and we were like styling everyone. It was I don't know. I mean, it was like I was doing really, really well, and one day he came in, and I was just like blood dripping down my arm, like in the bathroom. I'd been in there for an hour, and they were just like, "You're done. Like, you gotta go." And I was like doing really good. Like I love stylist work. Like I love fabrics. Like people are like, "What do you really like to do?" I like to go feel fabrics, like how they fall on the body. And he taught me everything about sales. Like I'm so good at sales now. Like more like how to compliment someone's looks, or all the things that you do for sales, and like how to make the sale. And I mean, we would sell like big, like high money ticket, like there was like $5,000 dresses, like $300 pants in there. And he was very like flamboyant. Like he was gay, and he used to always make the joke that like if he could make one more sale, he could get a sex change. He's like, "Hey, I'm Cosmo. How you doing?" Like he was like, he's not like my mom, but I had this weird, I got this like mother figure thing from Cosmo. He taught me so much about everything. You know what I mean? Like just how I've ever since then, how I interacted with people at sales. I've been able to like create garments. Like I've done dresses for people, like with the knowledge he's given me, like screen printing. And it was weird though too, cause he was like, he made, this was like a long time ago. So he like blurred the line between straight and gay. And he did it beautifully. You know what I mean? It was like, he kind of like alleviated me of the, I don't know, like what I thought gay people were, and whatever I had towards them, like working with him, like it was fluid. You know what I mean? Like I lost anything weird towards it working with Cosmo. I saw everything. Like at our store, people got blowjobs in the back and hand jobs for free clothes, and got naked for, you know what I mean? If you get naked and show your dick, then you're gonna get a free pair of pants. Like it was crazy. It's Melrose, and he comes from like the OG Melrose. Like I've hooked up with girls in those dressing rooms, and I mean it was an amazing, seriously amazing job. And when he fired me from it, it was really hard. Like so I had gotten sober for a little while, and I got so high, and like I would get so high, but then I'd come all the way back down. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about like I got so high, like I would do so good, like getting sober, and then I'd come down and it'd be worse than it was before. And I started dating this girl while we were in Melrose. We moved into, like, she had a condo and I moved into it. And so we started using, and eventually we lost the condo. How did this happen? So I went to jail in San Diego. I forget what I got arrested for. I had to go to jail for a while. I'd been to jail a couple of times, and I don't know. It's weird. I can do good in jail because I'm kind of like a shapeshifter from all the things that I've been involved in, and being on Skid Row and different gang members and these guys from 18th Street. Just like the life you live of being on Skid Row. Like, it's just whatever happens, happens. I went to jail and we lost the condo, and I came back and we moved to Koreatown. And the girl that I was dating, while I was gone, she started working as a cocktail waitress at a strip club. And, but she's, you know what I mean? Like, she did whatever she could to survive. And she actually had a place for me to come to after jail. But I don't know if you ever seen the Hangover, the Asian guy from the Hangover. She had this like Asian guy that was just a complete psycho, but rich as fuck. And I don't know what the exchange ever was, but like she would go see him for like a day or two, and then she'd come back with tons of money and crack and everything. And I don't even know if she was like prostituting. I met the guy. I had gone over to his place, and he's just like the craziest. He'd have like guns taken apart on his bed. He'd be like naked in his room, like jacking off or something. I don't know what he would do. Like, he'd have, a plate of crack out, and our life was just like, it was like my life was getting more and more insane. Like, I was always in something like that. And somehow me and her, and she's never been like this, but we end up like homeless, and we're like on Skid Row, and we're like in a tent, and we're sleeping. I remember we'd be in a tent and we'd be moving it all around. And at this point, I would jump on the Red Line and I'd ride it as far to North Hollywood. I'd rack every single thing I could, razors, whatever, and then ride it all the way back and then sell it to the fence. And then she would sometimes do whatever she did with this guy, you know what I mean? And we lived in a tent, and we were like Skid Row.
That's the bottom.
It was the bottom. And what's even worse was like we lost the tent. And
That's the bottom.
yeah, and we moved under the bridge across the street from the Disney Music Hall. And under the bridge, it was sectioned off, right? And each little guy had their section. And one section opened up, which was like a hot commodity to get. But it was the one where the rain gutter drained into. So if it rained, all the water came into our spot, which it did a couple of times. And we lived under that bridge. And like neither of us were, you know what I mean? Like, we're like that kind of people. And everything got darker and darker. You know what I mean? And it was so much harder to like get money when you can't take a shower. Everything was so hard. You're so tired if you can't sleep in a bed. And it'd be like months we're homeless. And pretty much at this time I was open to do anything. And like I was telling you earlier, like whatever it was that made money, the quickest way I was down. And a couple of times like different people approached me, with like the prostitution idea. And I always just saw the prostitution idea as like, oh, you have to just like bend over somewhere and get it. And the first time that someone they took me to a dentist in Glendale. And basically he's like, I thought I was just going to talk. They're like, if you just come talk to the guy, he'll give you $20. And I was like, great. All I need is $20. You know what I mean? Like, that'd be awesome. Where do we go? Hold on. I'm going to have the guy Ubers us over there. or we might have even taken the bus. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure Uber was around. And we go over there. We sit in the office. This old guy comes out, like super big old guy. And he's like, yeah, come into my office. And he's like, here, both of you guys take off your clothes. And I was like, all right, is this how we get the $20? Like, I took my clothes off. And then he's like, would you give him head? And I was like, you didn't tell me we were doing this. And he's like, the guy says to me, well, let him take a shower. But I wasn't like signed up for this yet. You know what I mean? And I was kind of like, what the fuck is going on? And he didn't tell me enough about it. And the guy kind of got freaked out because I had like no clue, you know? And so he was like, he didn't want to do it. And they sent me on my way. But he gave me $20 and I was like, wait, so you could do this? And there's other ones. So like, there's like a network of guys that they all actually know the same 3 guys. They like cycle through between the doctor, the lawyer, and the dentist. And it's like these guys that go and do this. I was able to like find, like in that network, find guys that were, one guy, he'd have me come over and I would lay in the bed at his place and he would sit at the end of the bed and not do anything, but he would sit right by the bed, not get on the bed. And if I wanted to do anything, he said, let him know. But he just wanted me to be safe in the bed. And I did that like a bunch of times. You know what I mean? It was like, I literally went in this nice house. He would give me a shower, let me sleep in a bed. The shitty part about it is my girlfriend would have to just fend for herself, like in downtown LA. And I'd be like in this nice bed with this like, you know, he was kind of fat, like just very normal looking guy, super kind, like brought me into his office to show me, hey, I own this whole building and this and like, you know what I mean? And he never did anything crazy or weird. So I was like, this is not that bad. You know what I mean? Like, and other times it was like, I remember this one time the guy just pulls up. So I was like over by Vermont and Santa Monica. He had like a white Jeep. He like pulls up, he picks me up, and then he's like, he's like, I'm going to give you like $150 if I could give you head. And I was like, I had nothing, dude. I was homeless living on the streets. It was just like, run it. You know what I mean? Like, and I just did, you know what I mean? Like that was like super short lived. And I was so like, I don't know cause you're so sick. It's like anything to like make me feel well, you know? And, yeah, I just kept going. Like those like little runs would last for a while. It's really crazy because at a certain point of that, I think the girl that I was dating at the time, she had like moved in with the Asian guy pretty much full time. And I was like, she'd come downtown and help me out, but like no more just like staying down there with me. She like pretty much, I'm pretty sure lived with that guy. And he had gotten another girl too. And yeah, and that was around the time that I was doing anything to survive. You know what I mean? I remember this one day, I was just done. I was like by myself, sleeping under the bridge, and I walked down to the payphone. I call my friend from San Diego, and he was like, I think he even said like, stay right where you're at. I didn't have a cell phone, nothing. Stay right where you're at. I'm going to come pick you up and help you. And this is crazy because he picked me up and helped me. I went to meetings. I stayed sober. He does like event industry stuff. Like he left me with his son who was just born at the time and his wife at the time. And I kind of got my act together for the most part. And there's a barber named Camacho, and he would cut my hair for free and talk to me, and he knew I was getting sober and that I really went through the ringer trying to get sober. And I would go over to his barbershop, was at his house, and he would let me sit there. He'd give me a haircut. I'd sit down and just like, he'd get clients. They'd come in and come in and go. And one of the guys was like, listen, there's this new thing. It's called an e-cigarette. And these things are going to blow up. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, it's called an Ego C-Twist. He's like, this starter kit comes with 2 of them. And an e-liquid, and they sell for this much. And I think they're around like $50 or $75 for the kit. And I'm like, no way. And he's like, yeah, this is the new thing. People are going to quit smoking. They're going to do this. And I was like, well, how can I get some? He's like, actually, I have a garage full of them. He's like, if you wait right here, I'm going to go get some. I'm going to bring it back to you. When you sell them, you pay me back. This guy didn't even know me, but like the Camacho, our barber, I don't know if you've ever been in a barber shop. You like link real quick with people. You know what I mean? And so he gets them for me. I sell them. We get more. I sell them. I get more. I sell them. I tell my brother about it. My brother's always down. He's a real estate guy now, super smart, like businessman. He comes in up on it, and we buy more together and sell them. And then we're at the Kobe swap meet in San Diego. We got a booth, and we're selling them. And it kind of takes off for me. And for some reason, I always go back to LA. And I made the decision to come back to LA while all this was taking off. This is like it's such a weird thing, but there's a thing called a Cape Cod wipe. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It polishes metal. So the original, after the Ego C-Twist came out, they had mods. There were these metal mods, brass, copper, different metals, and they would tarnish. And I was like, dude, what if we made a package with this Cape Cod, bought it wholesale, put 2 of them in here, call it Mod Shine. This is like the logo from it. And we sell a Mod Shine package. So we repackage Cape Cod, buy it wholesale, put in this black Mylar bag, make the freaking logo look awesome, everything. And we did, and it hit. Like everybody wanted Mod Shine. It was like new. The vape industry is the wild, wild west. You could make anything and call it vape related, and it was selling. I moved back to LA, and I immediately started fucking up. I'd been sober, and I made the decision to get on methadone, sober. Like I wasn't gonna kick, I wasn't sick. And I got a job at this place called Vape Day. And just like anything that I do, I pretty much I wore all the hats there. I ordered the wholesale, the distribution stuff. I ran the social media. Like I did as much as I possibly could over there. And I was back on methadone. And I called Sarah, or the girl that I was dating, the one that was with the Asian guy, and I hadn't talked to her in a long time, and I was doing good. And I was like, I'm back in LA, and she's like, where you at? I told her. She comes over. So I'm doing really well. I'm just, for some reason, I decided to get on methadone. I'm running like a bunch of parts of this company, and I decided to get on methadone. And when she came with crack, and she was smoking crack like crazy at this point. And me too. I'm like, I love, I still to this day, it's like crack. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is. My life is amazing, but like, you say crack, and I'm like, that stuff is great. And like, my life is beyond amazing, and doing that would be the dumbest thing. And she came over that day, and she brought crack, syringes, heroin, everything. This guy decked her out. Nice purse, brand new pipes. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't use like that when it was me and her downtown. We had like a small broken pipe that was like burning our lips. And the allure of it was just like, and she does not stop. When she's using, she just smokes back to back. You know what I mean? And I was like, I'm doing really good. I just wanted to see you so you could know that I'm doing good. And maybe so you could like go, like, be mad that you left me or whatever happened. And I immediately, she sits down, it's like 3 or 4, and she starts smoking. I start smoking. she she doesn't ever get sick, but she starts fixing. I start fixing. We're smoking back to back. And whatever time it was then, it was the next day. And my assistant like walks in at this vape shop that I'm working at. She was actually like the owner's assistant, but she'd like help me with a lot of things. And all this stuff was there. And I was high and my face was picked and they were like, you're done. And I did like really well in the vape industry, but I was high. I ended up partnering with this other lady, opening a store on Brand and Maple, and it was called the Factory Vape. And there's still reviews like on Yelp from it. And even this guy just messaged me a couple days ago. He's like, "You've came so far from when you used to serve people vape without pants on," because like I was so high. So I thought it was a good idea too to paint the vape store bright pink. Like everyone remembers it. That's in Glendale. We were right across the street from Mercedes. I do the thing bright pink, paint the logo on the front, the Factory Vape. Selling, I mean, I'm high out of my mind at this point. So every day I was drinking vodka, I was shooting heroin, I was smoking meth, shooting coke, and I was making really good money at the time. I had this Amazon account that was just it'd be printing while you're sleeping because it would just print as it made the sales. It'd be like, and then every morning I'd wake up and tear them, and I'd put this one IPv3 smoking device into each thing, slap the label, boom, I'm done. I just made, you know what I mean? I'm doing all these drugs, and to wake up, I never drank like this. And I feel so bad for alcoholics. I used to always talk shit about them. I'd be like, I can't believe you're just an alcoholic. Like, get a real habit. Dude, alcohol is no joke. So I started drinking like a gallon of vodka. Every morning how I woke up is I'd wake up and I'm like shitting blood, puking. I'm sick. If I fall asleep, I get sick. I get the withdrawals. But now I'm on fucking alcohol. I'd wake up, I'd go in this bathroom, I'd be shaking, and I didn't know what to do. I had to either stop the shaking by drinking the vodka, or I had to shoot the dope to be well enough so my eyes could see. You know what I mean? It was one of the two. I'm puking. It's a nightmare. So I get the vodka in, I shoot the dope, the cocaine, or shoot the dope and the meth. I'd get well, and then I would smoke. I'd be drunk now, though, because I'd have to get drunk as fuck to stop shaking, to, like, get this syringe somewhere in me, hence walking out with no pants. So anywhere I could find it. Like, now, when I go to the doctor, they do right here, one vein left, on the bottom of my foot, and there's nowhere else. Like, I'd be so fucked if for some reason they have to, like, resuscitate me. But I'm, like, shaking, and then it stops and I'm kind of well, but now I'm drunk and I'm too high on heroin. So then I gotta smoke some meth. Then I'd get too methed out. So I would take some Xanax, or I'd get what's the other one we had? I can't remember. We had I'd always have Xanax and something else. And then I got GHB. I don't know why I started taking GHB, but to me it was like the magic cocktail of the heroin, the coke, the drinking, too much meth, a Xanax, and GHB. And then I would go out and work. And I was fucking demolished. And you would come to this vape store, just like this kid said, I might not have had pants on. You know what I mean? I'm standing behind the thing. I'm serving, like, vape juice. There's all kinds of people in the back of the vape shop, like, doing drugs. This girl that said her name was Baby Girl, and I believed her. She had an ID that said it was Baby Girl. She'd be back there. Dude, like, all that goes with the drug things, like, you know, transsexual prostitutes in the back. Like, I remember, too, this one time, just, like, this little Mexican guy jumped in my car, and I brought him back, and he was, like banging this prostitute in my office as we're open on the other side, like rabidly, like behind her. And I was like opening the door to serve customers, and this guy's like, and I'm like shutting the door, like, hey, how can I help you? people would come into the vape store and they would be like, this is the fucking crazy. So like you'd come in the vape store and you're like, I want a serial killer vape juice and 1 gram of heroin. And do you have any Xanax? And like the guys were sitting right there and I'd be like, yeah, here. And I'd ring the card through. It was like, dude, in the moment, I thought I was a genius. I was like, this is the best way that anyone could ever do this. And like in retrospect, dude, so.
And the money was good?
The money was good. The vape money was good. This is pre them switching the 21 over, you know what I mean, for smoking. And this was pre them taxing anything.
What year is this?
Shoot, it's like 9 years ago now.
Okay.
8 or 9. So 9 years ago when I started, I've been sober 6. So like, 6.5, 7 years ago is when I ended that. And dude, we were doing like we were going to like Las Vegas to do the trade shows and this and I was doing very well. It made no sense.
You were kind of a functional addict.
I was very functional. I got like as high as I was, but like I would do the things every day. I would mop the thing as soon as I got well, front to back to the store. I'd like open everything up. I'd wipe it down. And like from what Cosmo told me, I was ready to sell. Like when that door opened and you needed something, I was selling it to you. Like you were not walking out without buying something. Mind you, sometimes like I'd be passed out on the front and you'd have to wake me up. And like I said, the array of characters in the back, it was like open 24/7. You know what I mean? I never left. I actually lived there. So I was like homeless in the vape shop because I wouldn't leave. I got super paranoid. Meth destroyed me. Like, so one of the last things that happened at that vape shop is, so I thought everyone was following me. I'd stay watching the cameras. Dude, there's this one officer, Moyers, who like, I called him. He was a client. He was like a vape client. But I called him and I'm like, why are they all outside watching me? He's like, what are you talking about? I said, they're all outside watching me. I was like, are you linked to the FBI? Can you talk to them? Can you just tell them I'm a good guy? And it was insane. And so what happened too, though, is I thought they were following me. I don't know who it was. I thought they were. I walked out of the store one day and I looked and I passed like BMW, I think was on my side, and I could see them walking. And every time that I passed something, there they were. Mark, I jumped on buses that went this way, got off, and then went back this way. And then I went to the LA River and I climbed. So like, I don't know what they use them for, but there's these big concrete circles, right? And they put them in under the freeway or something. And I climbed up one and I was done. Like, I was like, whoever's after me, I'm jumping off this thing. They're not going to get me. I'd rather die.
The meth made you paranoid.
So paranoid. Somehow these people got me down, but I thought that they were the ones. I trusted them to come down. I thought they were the ones, and I start running up into the street, and the cops came, the paramedics. I was trying to fight them. They handcuffed me. I was fighting everyone, telling them, go fuck yourself. You're not going to kill me. I remember this shit. It was crazy. And then they didn't arrest me. I've been arrested so many times. I've been arrested. I have a strike. I have a petty theft. I have a grand theft. I have possession, Prop 36, all these things. They didn't arrest me, and they put me in a mental health facility. When I went in the mental health facility, it was the first time that I thought maybe I am crazy. Maybe I need help. Maybe there is something I could do about this. But they gave me a prescription of Seroquel, a prescription of Wellbutrin, and they sent me on my way. This was like the pinnacle. It was the end. I've been working at that vape shop. Every day I thought they were after me. This guy, I had this friend Oh my God, you should have this guy. This guy, Cody, would take care of everything I did. If I dropped my drugs, he would pick them up. If I dropped all my money, he'd get it. He never once fucked me over. He looked out for me so hard. I couldn't go back to the vape shop because they were there. I don't know who it was, but they were there. And so basically we had to move the drug dealing business to a guy's house down the block from the vape shop where I'd like come out and serve, and then to my friend's house. And it was, dude, they released me with the Seroquel and everything. Now, the guy Cody, who's always looked out for me, this is his daughter tattooed on my arm, my goddaughter Dakota. She's my cousin's daughter. They were together. My cousin passed away, actually. They say it's not from drugs, but we've all in our family suffered from it. Cody was like always there for me, and I was convinced at that point that he was the one that was trying to get me. And I would like lose my shit on him, and he was literally just trying to help me. And I was like, you are the one, like, why are you doing this? I'd be crying, bawling in tears. And after they let me out of that mental health facility, I went to his house this one night, and I was just like, I need my drugs back and the money and all the stuff that was from the register. He gave it to me too. He didn't take any of it. He never did. He literally was like only looking out for me. And I was convinced that him, the last one that I trusted, was the one, because it had to be him. There was no one else. And this was all in my head. And so I leave his house that day. He gave me the drugs. I walk down Ventura now. We're in the valley. I'm walking down Ventura. I get to the bowling alley, and I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with this life. And I took all the Seroquel. I took all the Wellbutrin. I did all the drugs, and I walked down the street, and at about where the Urban Outfitters is there now, I just remember looking up and just spinning off and boom, falling back. And like I told you, since I had no veins, when I woke up, this fucking bitch was jamming needles into my foot, trying to bring me back to life, basically. Somewhere she could, like, there was no veins. There's no veins. Like, they're gone. Like, all these veins behind here, they're all gone. My feet. She couldn't find anything, but I was losing my shit because she's jamming a needle into the bottom of my foot. And I don't know if you could even imagine it, but they were trying in my palm of my hands, which I already did. I used that. But I never even knew on the bottom of my foot there was veins. And they were jamming needles in the bottom of my foot. And I'm losing it. I'm like, what the fuck is holy shit. What? And I'm like, someone's holding me down. I might have been handcuffed, I think, to the bed. I know I couldn't move. And I'm losing my shit. And then they're like, you know what? Just get out. They like discharged me. And they put me in the front, and I'm like, I'm going to fucking kill myself. Like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? And then I called the police. I called the police from the front of the thing, and they eventually put me back, and then they brought me to Hawthorne. Hold on. So that time they brought me to BHS, Behavioral Health Services. It was in North Hollywood. So now this is the second mental hospital I've been in. They 5150'd me, and I'm in there too, and I'm just like, why am I not dying? Like what the hell is going on? Like, I just want to die. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like pleading with God, I remember. And this is kind of how I really started to believe in him again. But I'm like, you have to let me die. This is too much. Like, I can't keep doing this. And I'm in there, and this is the crazy. We have such an amazing mental health facilities in the United States. I'm in there, nothing's better. Like, it was like 72 hours hit, and they gave me the same prescriptions right back that I just tried to kill myself with. And I left there, and of course, too, I call Cody again. I'm like, listen, hey, I'm coming over. Give me whatever I have left. And I don't even know if I had anything coming left at the time. But he knew I was out of it. I thought I had this tracking device in the back of my thigh, which there's a scar from. And that night I went over there to try and pick it out. And I'm dripping blood, dude. Like, I'm taking a step. Like, I put pants on because he's like, you gotta go. And each thing is like dripping blood onto the ground. And he gave me some drugs, and I left, and I just did what I had. And then the next day, I ended up somehow over on Vermont and Santa Monica. And over on Vermont and Santa Monica was this sober living I'd always gone in and out of. And I was high as fuck, dirty, like, no shower. I'm like out of these mental health facilities, like back to back trying to commit suicide. And I go up to the guy who helped me at the sober living, and I was like, I need to come in. This is sober living. It's not a treatment. It's not a detox. Like, no, you cannot come in. Like, you're dirty. You smell. You're like on drugs right now. And I just took it like this is the last stop on the bus. He's not even taking me back. Just in my mind. And they won't stop following me no matter what I do. So I remember we're at Vermont, Santa Monica, and I get high and walk. I'll walk from Burbank to downtown LA. So I get on Vermont, Santa Monica, the red line. I take it all these different places to like the gold line. And then I sit there and I look, and I'm like, I should jump in front of the gold line. I have to do this. And then my head thinks, well, what if you don't die and you're paraplegic, and then this head that you have is stuck inside of a wheelchair and you can't ever be fine again. So I didn't do it. Rode it back to downtown LA. There was this one bridge that I was like, I could jump off this bridge and I know I'll die. But I got scared again. I take it back over there, and I was like, I got to ask him again to let me in the sober living. But it just didn't work like that. I think I had a couple dollars left, so I bought like a Bud Ice or something, and boom, I did the same thing. I did like the last of the drugs I had, took the Seroquel, took the Wellbutrin, like down the freaking Bud Ice, and I was sitting right next to a payphone, and I just remember looking up, and the payphone was there, and boom, the next time I woke up was in Hawthorne Medical. Dude, it was like so crazy. There's like in Hawthorne Medical, I made friends with this like skinhead guy and then this girl, and I don't know what was going on, but it was like I couldn't die. And I don't know like how many people you've ever interviewed, or my game plan always was to kill myself. That was going to be the way out. That's how it was going to end. If it ever got too bad, I'm going to die. Like, I'll kill myself. Like, it has to be that way. And I always just assumed it'd be an overdose and it'd be intentional. And so, like, I go to Hawthorne Medical, and now dying is off the table. And I'm like, I'm crazy. I'm, like, in here with crazy people, and I need help. Like, I need to get well. Like, what is going to help me? You know what I mean? And so I finished like the hold that they had at Hawthorne Medical, and I remember I called my same friend that picked me up from the side of the road. Don't leave by the phone. I called him again, and no one else would take my phone calls. And the people were literally, since the suicide attempts were so close, they kept on talking about conservatorship. You know what I mean? And it was like, you kind of have to have someone to like back you up to not be on, like a family member or someone has to say like, no, like we want to help him. And nobody, my brother wouldn't take the calls, my dad's, like everyone's done with me. And my friend takes the call and he says, listen, if you have a place to go, I'm going to pick you up, but I'm going to drop you right off at the place, and that's it. So I call a bunch of places, and I call Salvation Army in San Diego, and they said that they would take me. And I get over there, and this is the craziest thing. I didn't say one word. I walk in the door with my stuff, and they said, we don't take dual diagnosis clients. I didn't even say that I did, because I had the medication that I'm supposed to take as prescribed, but they looked at me and said that. And then I was like, yeah, I do have medication, blah, blah. And so they don't let me come. The Salvation Army in Pasadena did. And so I had to get, you know what I mean? Like, they highly suggest, too, if my friend picked me up, that they let the medication stabilize me before I start talking about the people. And, I wouldn't sleep, and they were out to get me. And so he's like, I told you one place. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to put you through this again. This is, you know what I mean? Like, and I called my aunt, and I was like, the Salvation Army in Pasadena said they'll take me. I have to get over there. So I go to her house. Salvation Army, she doesn't want me to spend the night. So I basically go to her house, and I sleep outside the Salvation Army, 5 a.m. They wake up at 7. They take me. I go in the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army, you have to tuck in your shirt. You have to button your shirt. You wear a belt. You're working 12 hours a day. Mind you, I'm like a junkie who's never worked a day in my life. This was the hardest thing in the world. You have to make your bed with a crease in the corner. None of this made sense to me at all. But I really didn't want what I had, and I knew that if I didn't do this, I might go back, and suicide's not going to work. And the crazy thing about it was I actually got into I got into the church. Like, I liked being in the room, and people were happy, and they were singing. And as much of the things that I didn't like about it, I was like, I want to not have my life back that it was. And I did the things. I stood in the front, and I sang the songs, and I like that kind of serotonin boost or something, you know what I mean, that I got. And it was really hard. I was on the weekends. I had to clean extra because I couldn't keep my shirt tucked in, or I didn't wake up on time. And every weekend I had to do extra just to stay there. And one day, I guess I looked at someone like I wanted to fight them, and they kicked me out. I mean, I was so bad at being a Salvation Army client, it wasn't even funny. So I was walking back, and one more time, I was sober though. I got 90 days. Mind you, I've never gotten this much sobriety ever in my life. And I'm walking back. They kicked me out. I have my bag of stuff, and I'm walking back to go to Cody's house. So maybe this will be the end of, you know what I mean? I'm walking back in the park. The cops come, and I see them coming around, and then they're just like, Brandon O'Connell, put your stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck? Dude, so from selling drugs and all the thing I was doing at the vape shop, there was a warrant out for my arrest. And my partner on the vape shop actually said that I robbed the store, that when I left, that I took everything and robbed the store, which there is some truth to that. And I ended up pleading a no contest, but I didn't take it like in a robbing way. I just took the stuff that I thought was mine when I left the store. But she did an insurance claim and got all this money. And the store was, I mean, obviously at the end of the day, it was a big loss. So I was in jail, and I was sober, and I wanted to, I kind of wanted to stay sober. And I was really big when I went in there. And I have bleached hair right now. I had at Salvation Army, they make you get a haircut like this, but I had hair like this, stuck to my face, and then I had the bleach, but it really grew out. So when they cut my hair at Salvation Army, I had these bleach tips. And so when I got arrested, I had the bleach tips. And when I went into the jail, the first name that they gave me was Chaz Bono, which is Sonny and Cher's male or female to male son. And I was super overweight, you know what I mean? And I don't know, I started working out. Like, I got into it. I wanted to stay sober, and I fought the case. I ended up taking a sentence that's like a godsend, because I'd never heard of this, but 16 with half and a split. And I got out the week of Christmas. It might have been like 2 or 3 days before Christmas. And I'm like still fucking out of my mind. And now so I was in Salvation Army for almost 4 months, and then I was in LA County Jail for like 4 months, and still out of my mind, full flight from reality. I get out, it's around Christmas. I go to my aunt's house, and I didn't do the steps or anything yet, but I was like, I'm going to make amends. I'm going to go over, and I'm going to clean everything and this and help them and clean. And they were just like, what the fuck? It's like someone would like set something out, I'd be like wiping down under it. And I was like still in like, after all that time, like a crazy still meth psychosis. And Christmas happens, and someone gave me like a socks. Someone gave me some shirts. Someone gave me, some toothpaste and this. And then my brother walks in with a duffel bag, and he's like, where are you going to go? And I was like, I'll just stay at Aunt Kathleen's. And they're like, no, like, you're not staying here. And I was like, well, then you got to take me to Skid Row, because where else would you stay? Assuming that my brother wouldn't take me to Skid Row. And we get in the car, he puts a duffel bag in the back, he pulls up to the midnight mission, and boom, he drops me off on the side of the road. Now, I've never been on Skid Row unless I'm like completely obliterated out of my mind. And that's why earlier when you're asking me about the mission, so I didn't even know you could sleep in those missions. I always just slept on the side of the street, under the bridge, in the tent, in the courtyard for the midnight mission. I didn't even know you could sleep in the missions. So the first night, I just go and ask everyone, like, hey, where do you sleep around here if, like, you don't have where to stay? And they're like, oh, just line up on San Pedro right there at 7, and then they'll let you in. So I lined up that night at 7, kind of, like, loitered around that day. But, like, here's the crazy thing. Like, I didn't use. And this was, like, monumental for me. And I didn't use, and I lined up at the thing at 7 o'clock. I think at like 8:30 or 9, they let us in. They gave me an inflatable mat and a blanket, and I put it down. So tired, just like loitering in Skid Row there. I lay down. I fall asleep. I wake up. The mat's deflated to the ground, and there's a lot of mental health in there. So someone also was cold, so they took my blanket, and then I wake up, and they're like, hey, it's 4:30. Who wants to take showers? And I'm like, oh, I should take a shower so I could, like, figure this out. Like, I don't know how long I'm going to be down here. So I go into the shower. It's like a room. It's like I don't know, if right where this, like right in between this black thing, there's like 6 shower spigots, and then everyone just goes in, and you shower. And it's not even warm. And like I said, the mental health situation over there. So I'm like under a spigot showering, and someone just bumps into me right from behind to go to the shower. And I'm like, dude, like, what do I do? Finish showering, get up, go in there, sit down, eat, kind of start talking to people. Met some people that are like from Russia. Their family moved here. They're like, yeah, our whole family moved, and we're on GR and food stamps, and we're just waiting to save enough to get a place. And I didn't have anyone at the time. And I went up to like share on 5th and Broadway. It was like where they had meetings and stuff. And I kind of, started going to meetings, getting sober. I stood outside the U-Haul with these guys, and I don't speak Spanish. So I stood out the U-Haul for days on end to try and like make some money, and nobody picked me. I ended up moving suits out of the back of a car into a warehouse for like a couple $100. I got my GR, and I moved into a sober living in like Azusa, and I did that for a while. Got my job back on Melrose working with Cosmo, and I really excelled. I started making people like custom dresses, custom like glasses, all this stuff, doing really well on Melrose. And kind of just like, you know, from the U-Haul to moving those things in to Melrose, saved enough money to actually move back into that sober living that I was telling you, where the guy just told me to kick rocks. And I got started there. And then my friend Jacob, who would still take my phone calls, was like, oh shit, he's doing better. And he works Coachella, Stagecoach, EDC. And I would always vicariously watch what he is doing on the internet, wishing that I could like work on one of those stages. And he ended up basically like calling me, and he's like, hey, do you want to work the Coachella? And I was like, yeah. They paid for the hotel. It's like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They give you like the clothes you wear. And it paid more for working every day that whole month than like I'd made in a long time, or legally at all ever, probably. And it was weird too, because my fiance now, we've been friends since we were 13. She's actually like the first crush that I ever had. I lived like right up the street from our school, Oakcrest, and then her friend lived by me, and they would ride their longboards, and I was obsessed with her. Like completely obsessed with her. Sometimes too, I think back and I'm like, I started using because of how, you know what I mean? Like, I remember how uncomfortable I felt when she didn't want to be with me when we were younger. But she saw me like working Stagecoach and Coachella, and I was doing this stylist work, and this lady, her name's Liz. She did like Pirates of the Caribbean. She was Nicole Kidman's assistant, and she was like, hey, my daughter wants to have her birthday here because she met you and you styled her, and she wants her birthday party to be here. Her aunt is, or I think she said aunt or godmother is Nicole Kidman, and she could pay for everything if you guys could let her do it. And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. Talked to Cosmo. He's like, yeah, we're down. We'll shut down the store for them. They could try on everything as long as someone buys something. So then I tell Chelsea, I'm like, hey, do you want to come work with this lady's Nicole Kidman's goddaughter? So we worked together on that thing. Kind of like started talking again. And I'm back like on Melrose, working Coachella, Stagecoach. I started going to meetings. I'm like sober now. At that time, I was sober like over a year. My life is like dramatically changed. I know this is like, he's not like I don't know how this will be perceived to people that see it, but I said I want to work with Kanye West. And mind you, I was like meth psychosis guy. So when I said that, a lot of people were like, that's really crazy. I actually, the Nicole Kidman, people thought I was lying when we did the work thing because it was so out of whack. And I stayed working production, and I ended up actually working on the Kids See Ghost, which is Kanye West and Kid Cudi, their collab. I worked on the stage when they played in the Bulletproof box that they raised a bunch of stage. And actually, Chelsea was there that night, my fiance. She says that our son was conceived that night after the show. And it was like this big thing that I was like, I told people that. And all these times I'd worked on these events, and it was right next to him, or he did that Sunday service at Coachella, and that was one of the days I had off. And then, so I worked at Camp Flogna on his stage. And then it was just like one of many, though. Not any like real attachment to it. And I ended up going to this company called Vox, and they actually did the Jesus is King record release. And I was like one of the 6 people from our company at Vox that did the Jesus is King record release. It was like a thing you could come in, walk through, listen to the album. And it was super crazy.
You lived quite a life. How old are you?
39.
39.
Yeah.
You look great for 39.
Really?
Yeah.